Good evening, little birds. Welcome to the library. Tonight, our story comes not from a dark city or a forgotten grave, but from a voice raised in defiance, a voice that refused to be silenced. I am Tish Raven, and this is the true tale of Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth was born Isabella Baumfree around 1797 in Ulster County, New York. She was born into slavery and owned by Dutch-speaking enslavers in a state that would later pride itself on freedom while still profiting from the practice of slavery. Isabella's early life was marked by violence and servitude. She was sold multiple times as a child, beaten for speaking English instead of Dutch, and forced into exhausting labor. Like so many enslaved women, she endured physical abuse that the law not only permitted, but ignored. In 1799, New York passed the Gradual Emancipation Act, promising freedom to enslaved people. But gradual meant decades of waiting. And when Isabella was told she would be kept enslaved longer than the law allowed, she made a decision few dared to make. In 1826, carrying her infant daughter Diana, Isabella fled. She found refuge with an abolitionist family who helped secure her freedom through the courts. In a remarkable act for the time, she later sued a white man for custody of her 5-year-old son, Peter, who had been illegally sold into slavery in the South. She won, becoming the first Black woman in the United States to successfully win such a case against a white man. Freedom, however, did not mean rest for Isabella. Throughout her time advocating for Peter, and being exposed to Dutch Reformed and Methodist teachings, Isabella experienced a profound spiritual calling. In 1843, declaring that the Holy Spirit had called her to speak the truth, Isabella took a new name, a name chosen for a purpose: Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth became a powerful abolitionist and women's rights activist, traveling across the country to preach, lecture, and confront injustice head-on. She could not read or write, but her voice carried further than many printed words ever could. She spoke plainly, relentlessly, without apology. In 1851, at a women's rights convention in Akron, Ohio, she delivered a speech that would echo through history. Though later transcriptions altered her words, its message was unmistakable. She challenged a nation that claimed women were delicate and weak, while Black women labored, suffered, and endured without protection. She asked a question that still resonates. Ain't I a woman? Sojourner Truth did not separate the struggle for justice from the life of the Spirit. She believed that God spoke directly to her. Visions, voices, and spiritual certainty guided her path, and she spoke of them plainly, without adornment or apology. In the mid-19th century, America was gripped by a movement that believed the veil between the living and the dead was thin. Spiritualism promised communion with spirits, divine insight, and moral truth beyond the limits of churches and governments. For many, it was spectacle. But for Sojourner Truth, it was access. Spiritualist circles were among the few spaces where women were encouraged to speak publicly, where abolition was openly discussed, and where a formerly enslaved Black woman could stand before an audience and be heard. She lectured at spiritual gatherings, shared platforms with reformers, and spoke of justice as something rooted not only in law, but in divine will. She was not interested in parlor tricks or mysticism for its own sake. When accused of fraud or deception, she met the charges head on, insisting that her authority came not from illusion, but from lived truth and moral clarity. During the Civil War, Sojourner Truth worked to recruit black soldiers for the Union and advocated for formerly enslaved people. She met with President Abraham Lincoln in 1864, pressing him on the realities faced by black Americans, even as emancipation became law. She continued to speak, travel, and fight injustice well into her later years, advocating for land grants for freed people and dignity for those society wished to forget. Sojourner Truth died on November 26 of 1883 and was laid to rest in what had become her home of Battle Creek, Michigan. But her work did not end with her life. Sojourner Truth believed that the world was watched by God, by history, and by the spirits of those denied justice. She lived as though every word she spoke would one day be answered. Her story reminds us that history is not only shaped by generals and lawmakers, but by those who refuse to accept silence as their inheritance. She did not ask for permission to speak. She did not wait to be welcomed. She claimed the right to be heard. May all of those living in oppression and fear claim such a right. Thank you for joining me in the library, little birds. I am Tish Raven, and I bid you good reading.